What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the latest episode of Miami Total Football. We're at Drive Pink Stadium in the early hours of Thursday morning, and it's actually my birthday now, but we're here to talk about Inter Miami, and they suffered a very ugly 2-0 defeat to CF Montreal at Drive Pink Stadium in a match that had a 2-hour weather delay. Now, for Inter Miami, the defeat was arguably the worst in its short history because, at least that's my opinion, because they looked very poor for much of the game, especially in that first half. The team just couldn't get out of its own half. It couldn't build out. A lot of errant passes. They gave up 2 goals in the opening 25 minutes, and it was an overall ugly display from the team that left it looking from within for answers.
I think we all have to look in the mirror, and we all know what we can improve on and give more. And we know that if it's fitness that we need, then we need to get fitter. If it's tactical that we need to ask the coach about where he wants us positioning-wise. And I think everybody is going to have a day to think about that and get ready to get going again against Cincinnati.
Now, after the match, both head coach Phil Neville and makeshift right back Victor Ulloa pointed to the defensive struggles in the game as the reason for why they had so many issues in this one. But for me, the defense does have its share of blame. But it's not just on them. The team couldn't build out. The team couldn't deal with CF Montreal's high press and intensity, and that allowed for waves of attacks to come their way. And eventually, a defense can only hold up for so long. Sure, the ideal scenario would be for a defense to bend and not break, but that only happens so often. Eventually, the defense will have a crack that breaks open, and we saw that in this one with Bjorn Johnson scoring twice in the first 25 minutes for CF Montreal. And the first one comes off an exquisite through ball from Georgi Mihailovic. Leandro Gonzalez-Pires doesn't seem to get tight enough on the mark. And 1-0 for CF Montreal in the 14th minute. 11 minutes later, Johansson strikes again, this time off a ball from Romel Kyoto on the left. So Inter Miami was in a hole pretty early on. But again, the performance left a lot to be desired. Now, again, I said this could be the worst loss in team history, and I know that the 3-0 defeat at Nashville in the playoffs last year was very ugly, but in that game they were away from home. They probably shouldn't have been in the playoffs, and they were missing Gonzalo Higuain, Leandro Gonzalez-Pires, and Federico Higuain because they had COVID. In this one, you had the 3 designated players on the field. Gonzalo Higuain, Rodolfo Pizarro, and Blaise Matuidi were all available and in the starting lineup, and Inter Miami still had this poor of a performance, and none of the 3 really stepped up and showed anything in this game. And that's been a continued issue that we've seen from Inter Miami, is that their DPs, the players that are at the top of their roster, their best earners, the ones that are supposed to put the team on their back more often than not, they're not doing that. So I asked Phil Neville after the game why that is, and this was his response.
I think, Franco, I think it's I think in football you need 11 players, 12 players. Well, it's more. It's 5 subs. It's now 16 players to contribute to make the individuals play really well. And I said it in the team talk on Sunday before Atlanta that for individuals like Gonzalo, like Pizarro, like our special players, for them to get the golden boot, to become MLS Player of the Year or whatever the accolades that come their way, you can't do that on your own. I think we've seen that I've seen that in the last 30 years of football, that without their work ethic, without the togetherness, without their team ethos, individuals don't individually do well on their own.
Now, I've been of the belief for the last week or two that this group, this roster that's been assembled, and obviously it was assembled initially by the previous regime, by Paul McDonough and by former head coach Diego Alonso. It's a collection of individuals. It's not a team. It's not a unified group that plays for one another on the field. And I think this game highlighted that extremely, because you saw almost nothing out of the team in the first half. It was so bad. The team just couldn't build out. It couldn't string passes together. Players were giving the ball to CF Montreal, be it off of dribbles or just errant passes. It was just bad. There was not really any positive takeaways from that first half. It was a very ugly display and something Inter Miami really needs to be honest with themselves about and figure out what the best solution is going forward, because this simply is not going to cut it if they want to be an upper echelon team in Major League Soccer or even in the Eastern Conference. And if things keep going this way, they might not even be a playoff team. But the season is still young, so they'll have time to correct things. They get to go again on Sunday against FC Cincinnati. But 3 points are needed because confidence looks low, body language in players just didn't look right, and Inter Miami certainly could use a victory.
I think tonight was a little bit of a reality check for everybody in the football club, myself included. And you have two options: you mope around, you sulk, or you dust down and you go again. And that's my mentality, and that's the mentality I want from the team.
One more thing I want to touch on from this game is I wonder what that locker room was like. Now, obviously, the game just ended, or it ended a few hours ago, and we haven't gotten a real chance to dissect or talk to people in and around the team to find out what that locker room was like. But Victor Ulloa kind of gave a little sneak peek into what it might have been like, because he said he labeled the locker room emotional during that lengthy delay. And I would imagine, and this is not information, but I would imagine there were a lot of choice words.
During the break, it was very emotional. Obviously, we were very disappointed. We were down 2-0, and we were just waiting. It was a long waiting period, so guys got to calm down a little bit and get our senses and get thoughts and prepare our second half.
That first half, again, was so bad. It was unacceptable. That's the word I immediately after the match ended. That is a word that Phil Neville and Victor Ulloa used as well. It's just unacceptable. You cannot play like that, especially if you're a team that claims it wants to be one of the best in Major League Soccer.
We've got to be really honest and say we was beaten by the better team. The first half was unacceptable from us all, myself included. Got to take responsibility as a manager, set of players. We take responsibility for that.
Of course, what would be some solutions for Inter Miami going forward? Well, I think at this point you might need to bench Rodolfo Pizarro and Blaise Matuidi, or move one of them out of the lineup and maybe drop Rodolfo Pizarro into an 8 spot. But one or both of them have to be dropped from the lineup because they're just not doing it. They're just not cutting it. Rodolfo Pizarro is doing almost nothing from the build-up, doing nothing with the ball, over-dribbling, taking way too many touches, one touch too many, and Blaise Matuidi is a defensive liability, and I've touched on this for weeks now, and today you saw it again. Just doesn't influence, doesn't dictate the tempo or put his stamp on the game like you would expect a DP player of his caliber to do so. So I think one, if not both, need to be benched. Maybe that lights a fire under them. Maybe that helps get the best out of them or get more out of them, because right now it's just not enough. But I'm not going to put this just on them. Again, this was a collective failure tonight. This was on the entire team, from Phil Neville and his coaching staff to the players on the field. It was just a disastrous performance, shambolic, and for me, in my opinion, downright embarrassing. It's you just can't do that if you're Inter Miami. And there's a lot of fans in the stands that think it was the biggest announced crowd that Inter Miami has had to date. There's people paying good, hard-earned money to come watch these games, to put on the jerseys, and to see the team at least compete. And the team did not do that. There were improvements in the second half, sure, but even then they still didn't test CF Montreal's goalkeeper. Still didn't put a shot on frame in that second half. And the performance overall was disastrous. Again, I keep repeating myself here, but it was disastrous and just not the type of performance you want from Inter Miami, especially when you have that many fans in the stands. Now, speaking of those fans, they were probably, along with maybe Jovan Jones, who came off the bench in the second half, the only ones who showed up today. The only ones who really gave you something to be proud about here with the club, because they represented, as soon as the 2-hour delay began, the La Familia went full voice underneath their rafters and sang and chanted and jumped and had a great festive time supporting the team that was down 2-0. And they did it for a good long time. They were in full voice for a while, singing all the chants that you've heard over the course of the year and change. It was impressive to see, impressive to be around, because you don't necessarily see all that type of passion and fervor and energy from supporters groups, especially not during a 2-hour rain delay like there was here in South Florida tonight. So kudos to them, a very impressive showing from them. If the team can play with that type of passion and with that type of energy, Inter Miami would be a heck of a lot better off. But that about does it for now. What did you think of Inter Miami's 2-0 loss to CF Montreal? Do you agree with me that the team is a collection of individuals? Do you think that can be solved with the group that's here now, or do pieces have to come and do pieces have to go? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Also, make sure you stay tuned to Miami Total Football's other social media accounts, because we're doing giveaways. We're giving away an Inter Miami jersey and those long coveted pink shorts. So stay tuned for that. But that does it for me for now. I'm Franco Panizo, and we'll see you guys next time.